I want to respond to someone saying, I think it's really important, I think it was over on this side of the crowd, read the report.
Yeah.
Now, and I appreciate that sentiment. It's kind of like a professor saying, read the syllabus, right? But reality is, y'all busy. It's 448 pages. And I know it's on Audible, so I've got, for those who need the Cliff Notes version,
Right.
I got 2 ideas for y'all, okay? I'm a realist here. I've been teaching a long time. One, a friend of mine, I'm gonna forget her last name. Her first name is Barbara Slate, is creating a graphic novel. It's available free online.
Right.
I think she's got a Facebook page, so it's totally free. I'm not advertising something to make her any kind of money, but you can also get, she's doing print copies of it as well. And it's utterly brilliant, and I don't know how she stuck with it. It's amazing. Okay, that's one. The other thing is I'm gonna give you another tip. I've got 3 tips. The second tip is the first few pages, like the first 2 to 4 pages of both the first part of the report and the second, it's all one giant PDF, provides a summary, okay? So now, the third choice is this. It's really all boils down to this. The report covers crimes in part 1 and the cover-up in part 2. It's crimes and a cover-up, and it's actually very clear. Now, I know that you've heard all kinds of things like no collusion, right? No obstruction, but the answer is it was yes collusion, yes obstruction. And let me make this very clear. Part 1 of this report details the crimes, and the main crimes were, the very central crimes were, the members of the Russian intelligence service hacking in to Democratic computers and taking emails, both from the Democratic committee as well as the Clinton campaign. That's a crime. Many crimes. So the main crime there was conspiracy. It's a federal crime. And they had been charged. Those charges were made by Robert Mueller in July of 2018. And that's spelled out, again, the crimes. Another part of the crime was disseminating that information and also separately engaging in a campaign to influence the U.S. election. Again, that was charged, that was in February of 2018. It was charged as conspiracy against the United States. Those are very clear crimes that are laid out. Now, what was discussed but not charged as crimes was another conspiracy. And for example, it was conspiracy to violate the campaign laws. This is the part where, and this included that Trump Tower meeting where Don Jr. and those folks met with the Russian, with a Putin-linked lawyer and so on. There was collusion there. It's described, as our Senator Joe Comerford said, over 140 meetings, even though they said, I never have contacts with any Russians or the Russian government. It wasn't true. But what Mueller said in that report and aloud is they didn't feel like they had enough evidence to charge conspiracy for that. But let's be very clear. There are absolute crimes laid out in part 1 and indicted involving hacking, dissemination of information, and this influence campaign. All of it unlawful by the Russian government trying to secure a victory for Donald Trump. So those are the crimes. That's in the report. That's clear. Okay. Part 2 is the cover-up. And the word for cover-up that we use in law is obstruction of justice. And as Joe mentioned, as the report lays out, there are more than 10 incidents that Mueller investigates and lays out for whether that rose to the level, in his view, of obstruction of justice. And to prove obstruction of justice, you need 3 things. You need the obstructive act. You need that act to be linked to or nexus between that act and some federal proceeding. And then you need a corrupt intent. And it's methodical. Think of those 3 things. If the report goes through, boom, 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 all 3 things for all 10. And of the 10, he makes clear that he believes that he has met for at least 3 of them under the legal standards for the felony of obstruction. That's why more than 1,000 or about 1,000 former federal prosecutors looked at that report and said, this is slam dunk, it's not even close. If it were anyone other than the President of the United States, we would be prosecuted. Okay, that's absolutely clear. So, this should lead us to 2 questions from the Mueller report. One, well, why didn't Mueller say the president committed a crime, and why didn't he indict him, right? That's the first part. Why didn't Mueller indict? And the second part is, why is Nancy Pelosi and the majority in the House sitting on their hands, even though we have a report that actually says the president committed numerous felonies? So I'm going to answer both questions. I'm going to try. The first part, Mueller made clear, literally on page 1 of that second part of the report, the cover-up part. He said he believes he is bound by a Department of Justice policy that basically, in short, says that a president, while in office, is immune from criminal, not civil, from criminal prosecution. He believes he is bound by that, and as a result, he could not prosecute. He also believed, because he was bound by that, he wasn't going to, explicitly say the president committed these crimes. He was willing to lay out that all the elements were met, but he wouldn't say explicitly was a criminal, because he said it wouldn't be fair under due process if he couldn't be charged and either indicted, prosecuted or cleared for it. And then he said, in numerous places, but I've developed a record, so after he leaves office, he could be prosecuted, right? So he did not hand it off to Barr. And he said, most importantly, in 2 different places, and I'm going to paraphrase, hey, Congress, this is what you're waiting for. This is obstruction. It's your job to begin an impeachment proceeding. It couldn't be more clear. Any lawyer who reads this report, it's like screaming out at you. So I know that you should read the report. If you don't have time, just read a couple of pages at the beginning of each, but I'm telling you, Mueller lays out the crimes and the cover-up, and that cover-up itself is a crime, and anyone else, any one of you here, if you had done what the president did, you would not be standing here. You'd be in your lawyer's office, because you would have already been indicted, arraigned, and you would be headed for trial or a guilty plea deal, period. So, okay, I know this is not peppy, but now we get to the important question. Mueller hands it over to Congress to begin an impeachment inquiry. But what got in the way? Why didn't Congress immediately say, like I did when it was first announced, when I first even heard Barr's letter? Why didn't Congress immediately say, okay, let's begin an impeachment proceeding? And the answer is more obstruction. The hand-picked Attorney General, William Barr, lied to the American people by trying to minimize what he saw in the Mueller report, and he set the narrative. And unfortunately, the media, many folks in the media, not experts, just kind of reiterated what he said, and he dragged it out. And then when the report actually came out, people couldn't really recalibrate. Because I'm sad to say that though we've been at this since his election for more than 945 days, I need to say this. Some people have not gotten it through their head that Donald Trump is a lying liar who lies. He's a con artist, he's a phony billionaire, and he's a lot of words I can't say because my kid might be listening, but you know. And he's not going to change, okay? And so here's the deal. It's on us now. We have, the momentum has shifted, and what has changed, I think, recently, is I think folks are finally getting in their heads in Congress and out in the public what the Mueller report actually said about the crimes and the cover-up. And the recent developments have been, people are really focusing on the fact the president won't let anyone, or is trying to block all of these witnesses from testifying before Congress. He's calling it a do-over. No, it's not a do-over. It's getting the truth and the witnesses out there because people just don't read. They're not going to read the report. They need to see the witnesses, right? That's the first thing. The other thing is, and this should shock us to our souls, which is this. The president has said on national television to George Stephanopoulos, from the Oval Office and from some sort of chairs they had outside, this little conversation, casual conversation, where he says, basically, I will do anything to win. I will cheat and I will break the law, right? He's willing to collude. He invited foreign governments to give him information, even if the information was a result of an illegal hacking or conspiracy or what have you. He's inviting foreign governments, even hostile ones, to come to him and help him win. Even if it violates the law. Why? Because he knows while he's in office, he can't be indicted. So the only check right now on this president, and the only safeguard for our democracy from it returning to basically the king is above the law, is this Congress. And that's why it makes me so angry that they will not use the power that we gave them by electing them. Yeah.